Good evening. Good evening and welcome to MindFULL Live. Welcome. I am your co-host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I'm joined by the beautiful host this very late night. Host, what's your name? Nice. Thank you for being here. We are on the inside on this beautiful evening, 11 p.m. Ridiculous start. I know. The 26th of the first month in the year of our Lord 2026. The 26th day of the first month in the year 2026. 26 is all around. Hey, Ronnie, what's up? Hey, all the wise with that hey for you. All the wise with that hey. Hi, Lily. Say hi, Auntie.
Hi, Lily. Hi, Auntie.
All right, let's see if we could start some of these articles. Once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button as usual. We're streaming live over on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, also on TikTok, of course. Hit that like button, double tap the screen out there on TikTok, and let's go. Now, you go to sleep, love. Tell people later. Say laters, folks.
Laters, folks.
All right. Yeah. I was here at the actual time, but you know how things, you know how things run, sometimes with the technical difficulties, and I was sorting some of that out to make sure that we keep the multi-stream running, keep the multi-stream alive and functional. So that was kind of the delay, but we are here. We are here nonetheless, and there's lots of news to talk about. That's kind of part of the reason why I figured like I must do the live, because because there's a lot of very interesting news that is front and center right now. Looking to get things sorted a bit there. Yeah, lots of very interesting things that are front and center right now. The reason you want to watch too, Ronnie. Yeah. Lots of interesting things. Listen, I remember someone in the live Friday was asking me if I saw that video. If I tell people are going for doubles and end up in Canada, I heard that one too. I heard that one. People doing the most out here. I mean, sometimes people fed up on a Nisi. Good night, Jairam. Sometimes people fed up on a. They fed up. They want break, and they can't tell you that they're looking to fly out. So doubles. But if they're really flying out. But yeah, I remember in the live Friday, someone was telling me about the video about the police involved shooting, and that the video came out, and that blew up over the weekend. It seems nearly indefensible unless you or your boyfriend in the police. Because regardless of how indefensible a police action seems, there's always somebody in Trinidad willing to defend it. That's just the reality. I have come to the conclusion that there is no police action that is so drastic, that is so horrible, that it would have all around calling out and condemnation. None. Somebody would always defend it. Somebody is always there to defend it. Watch the Hawaii fast food who would have gotten sent back. Good thing is not fast food. And well, I ain't even walking because I ain't getting paid. Yeah, the police involved shooting, that seems to be a lot of what's in the news over the weekend. That was kind of drastic. The investigations would be key now. It would be very interesting to see how the investigations go. And as some people are pointing out, you don't have a whole lot of hope for that, because there were investigations into the police-involved shooting on tape. Was that in Morva that was, or something like that? And that one was very suspicious too, and I don't believe any of those officers are in prison quite yet. There was a shooting where an officer was a witness saying that she witnessed her fellow officers doing illegal actions in how this was done. And even that, she eventually recanted, and those officers are out there. All those officers were charged and on bail. On bail isn't found guilty. The charging part isn't what I'm concerned with the police. It's the outcome of those cases. Because it's easy for officers to charge the other officers and make a scene out of that. They are charged, great, the investigation has been completed, they are now charged and they are going to go to the courts. But if the officers are in charge of the entire process and witnesses don't show up, evidence disappears, and inevitably no one ever gets held guilty. Imagine counseling for the officers involved in this one. No suspension. Like someone must be suspended. And for me, here's what I'm thinking. One thing is clear, obviously clear right now. I heard, I think it was a lawyer saying that the fact that you put your hands out the window, who knows what the police saw, they may have thought that sudden action was here, yada yada yada. That sounds like you're begging. It sounds like you're begging someone to believe that. That's a hard one to believe, that the police had no idea he was putting his hands up outside of the window. They thought when he wound down his window and threw his two hands out the window that it was actually a gun, and he was trying to aim back at them. I find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe. And even if that were the case, then still the account given by the commissioner of police when the incident was first made public was either incorrect or a lie. Either incorrect or a lie, because he said there was an exchange of gunfire, and that is demonstrably false. I would like to know also something I'm very curious to know. I am sure that footage didn't end where it was cut as released in public. I am interested to see the extended form of that footage, because I would like to see where and when the officers found the weapon. That's a key part. Whoever is the owner of that CCTV footage, that will be a great resource. That would be a great resource. Show us the extended part of that footage, where and when they found the firearm. Because they say they found a firearm. All kind of things are very curious about that. So you're telling me this man had a firearm in his vehicle, running from the police, put it down, put down his window and put his hand out, expecting to surrender because he wanted the police to find him with the gun. Yeah, I know they put the vehicle to block his vehicle, but still, I would like the police to say at what point in time in this entire thing did they find the weapon. Because even when they put the vehicle to block his vehicle, you could still see movements happening around. So tell me, at which point was the weapon found, and where was it found? Where was it? Was it at his feet? Was it at his feet because he had it in his hand trying to aim at them? But either way, as I said, either way, the commissioner's statement was false, demonstrably. Demonstrably means you can demonstrate that it was false. You can demonstrate because the evidence is there. There was not an exchange of gunfire. So, I know Dalit. I remember that incident very well. With all of his windows up in a black tinted car, and they said he was driving and shooting at them. I don't know where the bullet holes were in his glass. I don't know how he was managing to shoot. Maybe he had a portal somewhere for the bullets to escape from the glass all up. But yeah, as a commissioner, if you gave that false statement, it's either one, you yourself were lying on behalf of your officers, or two, your officers lied to you. And here's the thing. I would think, as a police commissioner, the head of the police service, if my officers lied to me and embarrassed me in such a way that made me tell an untruth to the general public, whoever the officer was that told me there was an exchange of gunfire, he needs to be immediately fired because he lied. Somebody lied to you, Commissioner, or are you the one lying? Who is the liar? Because somewhere in that whole process, there's a liar. Like, okay, I heard the lawyer say that who knows, the window's wound down and two hands out the window might look like he's attempting to shoot you. Let the investigators find that out, okay. But there was not an exchange of gunfire. So that was a lie. Who said that? Who made up that lie? Where did that come from? I am also interested to know, in the initial police report, did they write that any damage came to any of their vehicles from any of the bullets? Well, Mr. Black Panther Party, I am very curious to know if the gun that they say they found was fired. Because we saw that it was not fired. So if they found some revolver, as they usually do, and it was fired, who fired the gun, officers? Who fired the gun, officers? Right now, the girlfriend, the fiancée, is still under police guard. Why is she under police guard? Her lawyer wants to know. Why is Kaya Seeley under police guard? Her lawyer is asking. What is the possible reason? Because police guards suggest she's suspected of a crime. What is the crime she's suspected of? Her attorney, Fela Sandy, told Express yesterday she was having difficulty getting information about why her client remained under police guard or what crime she allegedly committed. Christopher Samari, the father of Joshua Samari, said on Saturday he believes police murdered his son. And sir, I don't give you wrong for having that belief. That belief seems to be well substantiated. Something is very suspicious in the whole thing. I would like to see how it turns. And maybe so, Black Panther Party, maybe there are some disagreeers inside of the police service that would like to see some things go right, but I would like to see it. And what I would see is the statement starting from the commissioner at the beginning of this does not give me much hope. Where he said about the exchange of gunfire and all of that business, and then seeing the truth come out, that does not give me much hope. What would return some hope to me in the commissioner is to see heads roll personally from him, not over whether the shooting was right or not, but somebody lied to him, or he's lying to us. He needs to punish whoever lied to him, and that's what I would like to see. Yo, Ting Ting, you late? Well, I later. We're all late together. If that wasn't just plain execution, then it says that our police are extremely afraid. An officer stood there, what, 10 feet away, if so much, had his rifle, switched from rifle to handgun, and continued. Like, for what? This brings back in light same white aqua again. Remember the young fellas that got killed in opposite, was it the square, Independence Square? Early morning. A bunch of young fellas, all of them shot in the back and the back of the head and the buttock and all of that, riddled in a car. Because I could tell you, if this car had 5 people, 5 people would have been dead. Think about that for a moment. And I don't think the police knew when they started shooting how many people necessarily were in the car. Unless they did know, and that makes the whole thing even more drastic. But it ain't a game, Shazam, it ain't a game. It is not a game. It's also possible that the police, being on heightened alert and being antsy, as we call it, that they're expecting anyone running from them to be into some kind of activity. So the police in Trinidad are already of the mindset, if you're in a certain activity, it's open season on you and we can kill anyone that we think is a bandit. So if you move suspiciously with the police, like evading them with your car, they're having the assumption that, well, anybody doing this must have been a carload of fellas who now put on a robbery. So if we shoot them, whether they shoot first or not, it's going to be a kill that everybody cheer for. But unfortunately, it was not. If this was a carload, again, another hypothetical. If this was a carload of guys who just did a home invasion and his hand was up, or same video, but 2 men just did a home invasion, nobody would have cared. Nobody would have cared, I'm telling you honestly. If these 2 men, the story before was that they just came from some family's house and they beat up the father, they slap up the mother, they tie them up and take all the money and ting, and they were making their getaway and the police ran upon them and this is what happened. Even with the hands up outside the window, nobody would have cared. And maybe that's what the police were depending on. Maybe they thought that it was a given that this car fleeing them, this white aqua fleeing them, it's a given this has to be a group of criminals. So when we light it up, doesn't matter, people gonna be happy. That's the problem. It should not matter. The police have protocols to follow. And that's exactly it, Black Panther Party. That's exactly it, Black Panther Party. That's why protocols are supposed to be followed regardless of who you're interacting with, to avoid situations like this. How can the car leave Maloney with 3 men known to the police but end up being a couple? I don't know, Cardell. I don't know. It's a possibility. There are many white aquas on the road. There are many white aquas on the road. Who knows? The actual men known to police may have really been at Maloney. They may have really taken off and headed down the highway, but maybe they did not turn off into Bassey Street in St. Augustine. Maybe they continued on the highway, and another white aqua turned off into Bassey Street. And then this white aqua with the man and his girlfriend, I know that was the story given, Cardell. This white aqua, they now turn off, and now it's a case of mistaken identity. It's a case of mistaken identity. And then here's a possibility. I'm talking possibilities. I have no idea. Possibilities. So it's a case of mistaken identity. And because of that, a car comes screeching around a corner right behind the aqua. The man in the aqua gets frightened. He takes off with a speed, not knowing, not even analyzing yet it's police. By the time he knows, he already crashed at the side of the road. He wind down his window and put up his hands. He doesn't even know what's going on. They're thinking, we get him. We know who was in this white aqua. We know it's 3 men known to us. There are 3 known pests. If we wipe them out, nobody will be angry. So fellas, they're already talking in the van heading down, fellas. No survivors in that car. We know these men. We know they're pests. Nobody going to be sad. No survivors. Because that's the situation it seems like it was. It seems like the officers jumped out of the van with the intent that there be no survivors in that aqua. I believe the initial announcement of the incident, Black Panther Party, they did say they found a firearm. Very sad situation indeed. Very, very, very sad. And like, I've seen so many people ask the question, what was he doing before he turned the corner? I just gave a possibility of a whole different idea that could have been, who knows? But I think that's kind of an irrelevant question. I think there's nearly nothing he could have been doing before he turned the corner that would warrant the kind of action we saw there. We want the pest dead, we just don't want to see it, just hear that they shoot back at the police. I don't even think that's the case, you. Listen. I think, honestly, if the police were able to go out there and with 100% certainty everyone they hit was a known pest, people actually wouldn't care that much. They don't. That's part of the reason even the public outcry for the Morva situation was a bit muted. That's part of the reason there was barely any public outcry when what's his name, Belkan repeatedly fell off the chair in the police station. Was it Joel Belkan was his name? Is my memory clicking? Do I still have that memory clicking on 100? when he repeatedly fell off the chair. You all know what I'm talking about, Andrea Barrett and the investigation surrounding that. He repeatedly fell off the chair till he died. And I think some people were suspended and court cases came out of that. But there wasn't really any public outcry over it because nobody cares. Not in that way. The problem with this is at least the obvious look of it is the guy doesn't seem to be any obvious criminal. And even if he is or was a criminal, because he wasn't an obvious criminal, to come now in hindsight and attempt to make him out to be such is just going to look bad. TTPS is a dirtbag organization. Too bad is only people in the lowest of society understand that. I don't think it's only people in the lowest of the society understand that. The people in the highest of the society understand it too. They utilize it. They utilize it. Lots of these officers moonlight as well. There are allegations from people out there that many officers moonlight as hired hitmen. Exactly, Trini Mike. Exactly. Generally speaking. Like this idea of trained people being hired hitmen. There was this murder recently of a lady that was a reporter for CNC3 or one of them. And her sister was murdered last year, I believe, and she was recently murdered. The story, the account of that story is the lady was sitting in her car with a child on top of her and another child in the passenger seat. These men murdered her. The child on her lap and the child in the passenger seat unharmed. To me, that sounds like hired hitmen. That doesn't sound like the fellas who are adrenaline pumping so hard they don't know what they're doing and they only pulling trigger and look in the other direction. That sounds like some people trained to do that. To be honest, from what I see, trained is a stretch. I don't think the average officer is all that trained. Exactly, Black Panther, exactly. Here's the thing. Training is a relative thing, Shazam. You ever notice anytime police and rude boy in a shootout, police always win? And I'm not necessarily talking about because of incidents like we saw on the CCTV footage. Just in general, police are almost always better shots than the rude boys. Why? The bad boy only getting gun practice once every few weeks when he go out in the bush somewhere and shoot a tree in it. Police have the opportunity to train much more regularly. So although it's not like we're talking about Navy SEALs, Black Ops, special units we're talking here. No. Those officers though are much more trained on average than the average criminal. Listen, even a slack officer, if he goes to the range relatively regularly, especially in those assault teams, he would have much more comfort aiming and shooting than the novice, you know. They are level state. So just the repetition of the same thing that he would have been doing for years gives him much more of a benefit. Trained to shoot and tactical are two different things. Listen, I am not saying that the men are Navy SEAL Black Forces. I'm saying trained. That's all I'm saying. Trained. They're more trained than the normal person. That's just the case. How, who, and when under stress. Yes, but still, if someone is trained and someone is untrained, even under stress generally, the trained does better. This isn't saying that the police have enough training and it's adequate and they don't need any more. It's just a simple factual statement. Simple factual. There's nothing to disagree with the simple fact of it. There's nothing to disagree. It's just a fact. They train. They're trained. Yes, we know they're unmannerly. We know that they don't have all that good bedside manner and all of that. I know. But we're talking about in terms of the actual training. They are trained. And they are more trained by and large than the average person. Who do we think is in the TTPS? It's our friends who owing everyone money and can easily be hired. Fact. That's the reality of everything in the society. All aspects of the society are manned and occupied by members of the society. It's not any strange alien group that are police behaving differently than the average Trinidadian. It's the Trinidadian. It's the Trinidadians that are in the police. Same thing with the politicians. The politicians are so corrupt. They only thieving with money. These people can't do nothing good. They only whatever the complaint might be. The politicians are Trinis. Kamala Persad-Bissessar born, grow and bred in Trinidad and Tobago. If you don't like what you're getting, that's what Trinis give. She is a Trini. Give her that. Tanti is a Trini, true and true. In fact, she was showing her recent Trini twang and Trini heritage. Using colloquial as in bought from our Hindi heritage, but nonetheless colloquial language to reinforce her points. Just like old Dr. Rowley. TTPS needs a more aggressive internal affairs unit. They must fair internal affairs. I've been saying this for a while. I think a big bonus to our TTPS would be if the PSB was something with much more teeth and kind of more separate. Because as it stands, wasn't it the lady who was the alleged kidnapper who has now been promoted to senior police? Wasn't it her in charge of the PSB for a while? And now she is kind of at the top of the regular police. That whole kind of mix-up trover thing, I don't like it. But our Prime Minister says to the PNM corporations, stop suskeing. Stop suskeing, PM tells PNM corporations. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar is calling for more productivity among regional corporation workers. In a post on social media on Saturday, she said the PNM controlled corporations have received more money than the UNC controlled ones and will not get a cent more. She said PNM corporation should stop suskeing because they're not going to get a cent more than the almost $1 billion that they are already receiving for this fiscal year. Instead, they should begin spending taxpayers' money on services to citizens and not on fetting rum, whining on the road and paying for ghost projects. Hit them shut. Suskeing is a Bhojpuri Hindustani word defined as the act of sobbing, specifically inhaling sharply, gasping, or choking back tears while crying. You know that? Oh gosh, I know it's Suskeing. You should know. You should know what Suskeing is. That is the after cry that children do for about a half an hour after sometimes. That's the Suskeing. Nathan hiring people individually to clean up things like after carnival. Well, listen. The reality is Nathan, listen here and see, let's see for another 30 years has to be early onset dementia. I don't know about that. The reality is, though, the Prime Minister is right to some extent. She is right in that the local corporations are very wasteful and inefficient. That's a fact. That is real. There's no going around that fact. It is real. Many of the regional local corporations, they're wasting money. They're inefficient spenders of the country's money. Fact. Prasad Bisesa said taxpayers are paying 13,406 persons in local government $2.1 billion. However, after 9 a.m., you would be lucky to see the majority of them out working. That's because signing the attendance book and returning home by 9 a.m. has been entrenched policy across all corporations, scraping up small mounds of rubbish and sand for 2 hours to then leave on the sides of the roads to wash into the drains when rain falls is not a good use of taxpayers' funds. My government is not going to continue pumping billions yearly into these corporations while citizens continue suffering for basic sanitation and infrastructure services. Nathan, yeah. She was segregating the corp, though. Yes, she was segregating because she was saying it's the PNM corporations that are complaining. So she said she was saying the PNM corporations are getting more money. There's a breakdown up here. Funding gap by political control for the financial year 2026. 7 PNM control corporations are allocated 987.29 million versus the 7 UNC controlled getting 805.46 million, a difference of 181.83. The workforce, the regional corporations employ 13,406 people, majority in the PNM, minority in the UNC. I live in Edinburgh, 500 and CBC choose what they do inside here. So her statement is very biased. All I'm saying is I hear your anti-cams, but the rubbish it have opposite me was never there before the 2 hours was working. And you see, that's part of the reality. Okay, yes, CPEP was inefficient, URP was inefficient, the regional corporations are inefficient. I'm not even saying that ironically or sarcastically. Fact, she is right. They indeed are all inefficient. A lot of them are wasting our money. There's a lot of theft, there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of corruption. Fact. But at the end of the day, they were doing a job. And if no one is doing the job now, the job remains undone. And we are seeing some of the consequences of that. There are dirty places and grass all over the country. And okay, the corporations aren't running efficiently, but the corporations do a job. The corporations do a job. And here's the reality. Yes, the PNM corporations get more, but that's not necessarily a given that it's because the PNM has been biased to each other. Who is to be blamed for the inefficiency? The government, the politicians, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa herself, who has been in Trinidad and Tobago politics for what, at least 3 decades? So she is part to blame for that very same inefficiency that she's talking about now. But our reality is this. What is the infrastructural setup in the PNM constituencies? Why do they receive more? How many more roads do they have? Do they have more roads than the UNC corporations, the UNC areas? Saying that they get more money isn't necessarily saying anything. Because sometimes the money isn't as obvious to tell what it might be needed for. Here's an example out in Shogunas. Central Trinidad struggled to protect business and residents, the cost of crime. Although national crime figures show a general decline, the Central Division remains a major hotspot. President of the Shogunas Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Baldath Maharaj, has said the comment followed Trinidad and Tobago Police Services data showing that in 2025, Central Trinidad from Carney to Couva was the deadliest region in the country. The Sunday Express reported that Central Trinidad overtook Port of Spain, which recorded the most killings in 2024. Responding to questions from the Express, Maharaj said the 2025 data confirmed long-held fears in the business community. Whilst national figures show a decline, the Central Division remains a primary hotspot. This is a direct reflection of the reality on the ground. We have to ensure that Chaguanas and Central Trinidad are protected because it is one of Trinidad's fastest growing retail hubs, generating wealth and providing significant employment through our SMEs. Over the past 12 years, he said, the population of Chaguanas has increased by approximately 50%, bringing with it many new residential communities and businesses with residents who have the ability to spend. However, good night, Kareem. It's not just about being more nasty, Shazam. It's about having more infrastructure. What? The stream hasn't started on YouTube. It's supposed to be over there, as far as I can see here. YouTube might be fighting me down then. Good night, Pernby. I'm not reading an article that the police commissioner recommended counsel for the officers. Yep. I'm running on Facebook. Facebook seems to be running well. Instagram is running well. Why is YouTube doing that? I don't know. Checking that out, Kareem. Checking that out currently. Now we're live on YouTube, man. The YouTube is up and running. The YouTube is up and running. So the mission is to choke Port of Spain until it dies and move capital. Politics is why if you see Port of Spain isn't changing, make them suffer for a few years and weaken them. Well, yeah, as I was saying, it's not just about dirty. How many more buildings do they have to upkeep in the PNM constituencies? How much more infrastructure is there? What's the age of the infrastructure? Is the infrastructure older? Are there more roads? Are the roads in more difficult terrain? Are the roads susceptible to moving ground more? There are many things that change the effect of that. All constituencies wouldn't have the same needs because they don't have the same constituency. It's just obvious. So it's not a given that one would be the other. And then it's also kind of known that PNM tends to be supported more by a more urban constituency. And by and large, upkeeping urban centers are more expensive than upkeeping rural places. That should be known. The thing is, for the UNC, as someone said, the UNC is not going to win again for 30 years. The UNC may actually really be lining themselves up for another long run of PNM rule. Because, again, let's analyze the last election. The UNC didn't win as much as the PNM lost. The UNC didn't win as much as the PNM lost. Many typical PNM voters did not vote for PNM. What would happen if then you turn around and seemingly, I'm not saying you indeed are, but seemingly victimize the PNM people? Bear in mind, many of those PNM people stayed away from the voting booths to allow you to win. I mean, many didn't vote for you. That's true. Many of the PNM people, it's not like they switched party. So it's not like the PNM voters are now loyal to the UNC. You're right. They're not your people now. True. As I said, that your people, that explains the whole why they're having the press conferences out of the UNC headquarters. But true, they're not. But they still allowed you to win. And it's not in the UNC's interest to activate the main of the PNM voters, the main PNM voting base. It is in the UNC's interest for all PNM voters to remain as docile and calm and careless about what happens in the country as possible. That's in their benefit politically. Seems though like they're really trying to activate them. Exactly, Black Panther Party. I would have thought politically that what Tanti Kams would have done is what she showed like she was interested in doing during the campaigning, as in reaching out as this unifier. After 10 years of Dr. Rowley, who was a bit more abrasive, attempting to be that much softer touch. Miss Pandey chances, I think, should she continue as she's going, she would increase her vote share next election. Next election, she may stand a chance to get what the COP did in, what year was that? 2007? Was it? Somewhere around there, where the COP contested national elections and they didn't win a seat, but they got a massive share of the votes. The UNC bloggers complaining, not helping either. They don't care. What are the UNC bloggers going to do? Yeah, but she needs to be consistent to be taken seriously. Yes. But she is, that's why I said if she continues as she's going. She has consistently kept the goal so far, which is good. So I think if she continues as she is going, she will get a serious vote share next election. But I don't necessarily foresee her getting a seat. It's not next election. It's the election after that. That's the one I think is his to really make an impact. Not the next election. The one after that, because the next election would, I think, be a lot about a referendum on Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar. I think that's what it's going to be. I don't know, but I hope it's unlikely that she has much longer in politics, in active frontline politics. So this may be her final scene on the global stage. So that next election may be a referendum on her. I'm not sure that's Michaela's election to win. Black Panther, that's just the reality of how it goes. That's why so many old people are the ones who finally end up making it in politics. Because, as I said, it's unlikely that she's going to win the next election. Unlikely. Nearly impossible. Even the one after that, where I foresee maybe she might have a huge impact, I still am doubtful whether she's going to be in a position of leadership per se. And who knows? Next thing, it's when she is closing in on 70, we really get to see what she has to offer the country. But yeah, what's going on in Central is expanding faster than the resources, at least according to the head of their chamber. Central is expanding faster than the resources that their corporations can keep up with. That's part of the issue with the same PNM corporations that Mrs. Persad-Bissessar is talking about. If you are more urbanized, you have a much busier business center. The amount of money that you would need to maintain and manage your area is going to be more. Shogunas is seeing that now. You know, something that I find annoying? You spoke about them allowing illegals to register. We ain't reached that yet, though. You know something I find annoying? Tanku says gas price hike should not hit consumers. Finance Minister and gas price increase. Finance Minister Devindranath Tanku says he does not expect certain manufacturers to pass on the cost of increased natural gas prices to their customers. During a UNC news conference at its Chaguanas headquarters yesterday, the minister, when asked about the NGC proposed 76% increase to light industrial customers and the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association's concerns about it, and the increase was one that should be discussed by the TTMA with its customers. I think that there's a challenge now for businesses included in the TTMA to look a bit closer at their operational abilities so they can look a little bit more at their efficiencies and to streamline them to ensure that prices to customers do not increase, Tanku told journalists. These people too bold-faced. These people just too bold-faced. They keep doing this. He made this statement about the rental. They're going to charge a fee on the rental. So, of course, the landowners, the landlords would send that down. Of course, the landlords would send that increase down. But no. He says, no, they will not. Why? Because I say so. What kind of economics is this? They increase the fee for the bus route maxi taxi drivers. And they tell them, y'all can't increase your prices. Don't do it. Why? Because we said so. You increase the input cost for the manufacturers. And are you the head of these people's factories? You're out here acting like you are the chief financial officer for these companies. You're the CFO for all the manufacturers in Trinidad. You know that they run their factories inefficiently. And what they need to do is look a little bit at the efficiencies and streamline their operations. And once they operationalize their streamlining, it's going to be perfect and no prices need to. You analyze this. You went into the companies and did an audit of the companies to know what price they should and shouldn't be selling at. Call Trump, tell him Tanku practicing communism. Oh my goodness. Well, you know, the US not on the communists these days. Quick pickup. Be Israeli some communist stuff. Listen, PNM going to get so much money come next election. Fact, Black Panther. I'm sure all know some of those businessmen don't start writing checks. PNM coffers right now probably laughing. You know that the people need to streamline their operations, and once they streamline their operations, they don't need to raise costs. And this annoys me so much. They keep saying because it was subsidized. So because it was subsidized, when we leave the subsidy, now you don't need to change the price. All that was happening with the subsidy is these companies were getting free money. But now we remove the subsidy, so we're removing the free money from the rich companies and rich owners of these companies. This is so much nonsense. They're depending on us being foolish. They're depending on us being simpletons and not understanding mathematics. The reason NGC would give the subsidy to our light manufacturers is so that our light manufacturers would pass on the savings on to us. So if you remove the subsidy, of course, the lower price of our goods that we would have been accustomed to would be removed and we'd get back to a higher price. They're saying they're removing the subsidy so that it can match the actual real price that NGC pays for it. Well, then all that would happen is all of our prices locally would go up to the real international prices. Listen, not we all, but a lot of us do understand how the subsidies work, you know. I understand. I understood that with the gas subsidies, and I said it when Imbut was removing those subsidies. Yes, I understand that it's the government paying to artificially make these prices seem cheaper. But what was happening with the lower gas to the light manufacturers is not the government was paying to make the prices artificially cheaper so that more money could end up in the businessman's pocket. They were paying to artificially make the prices cheaper so that the businesses could manufacture for cheaper so that they can sell to us for cheaper also. If you increase that price, of course they're going to increase their end product price too. Like, how is this not obvious? Good question, Black Panther. Good question. What it looks to me like the government is attempting to do is, in plain obvious transfers, they want it to look much more like the government is giving more. But in latent collection, the government is trying to get more. It's like if I have a restaurant and I charge you, oh, you know what, it's like the casinos. You could drink the rum for free because I'm planning to make all my money back from taking it while you gamble. I don't mind looking like I'm giving you back more here because I'm looking to take all in another direction. They are taxing the nation to prosperity. I don't think that such a thing has ever happened. You see, the problem with taxation is the rich people could always avoid it. A lot of the taxes that the rich people pay, they pay because they're willing to pay it. Most people over a certain wealth level, they could avoid those taxes. They could go to a next nation. They could be a citizen of any nation they want to be. They could park their yacht in international waters and chill there for half a year, unbothered. You cannot write a tax code that could corner them into taking their money, short of literally cornering them and taking their money. The only people that are cornered by tax codes into taking their money are the middle and lower, well, even the upper middle too, but those working class and middle class people. They are the people that are cornered by the taxes, not the ultra rich. You don't bother them. You increase my gas price. Let's look at this. Let's look at this, right? You increase my prices to do my goods here, while Guyana is expanding their fossil fuel base and Venezuela is reopening to global business. You, who are a neighbor of these two, you're increasing your prices. Okay, I know for a fact many businesses are already in Guyana. If they don't mind, they'll open their business somewhere else. If Sunshine Snack starts to be made in Guyana, or it's no longer Sunshine, it's Solas's son, or Soul Snacks as well. It's made in Venezuela now. They make it in Venezuela and ship it over to Trinidad, and we're buying Venezuelan corn kernels. Snacks de Sol. Snacks del Sol. And would you blame them? Would you blame them? The reason those subsidies and cheaper prices are there were to attract people to do their business. That's why it was that way. It wasn't just cheaper gas because NGC is so kind and like giving away gas to people. That's not the reason. It was to attract businesses. Are you saying that those businesses now that they have been attracted will remain regardless of what you do? Bocadillas que brillan con el sol. I don't think so. I think businesses work based on making money. And if they don't make the money, they don't do the business. Simple as. And many of these businesses are going to struggle at those prices. What do we do then? Politics and race playing out. Yeah, it is. It is. If it's one thing, it's an interesting time to look at the political situation in Trinidad. People probably trying to crash the thing and go back to their motherland. I don't think there's anything as such. I don't think there's anything as such. It's interesting. It will be very interesting to see how it all turns out. Very interesting. The Zoso vote is tomorrow, isn't it? You know, I am not an accelerationist, as we were discussing the other day. I don't want chaos to befall the country because it doesn't benefit me. But I'm nearly curious to know how this Zoso is going to turn out, so much that I am nearly wishing that it passes. Nearly. I'm not, but nearly. It's going to be interesting. Alright, people, that's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, and entertained. I am Nathan Springer. This has been the Mindful Live. I'll see you guys again for the next one tomorrow. Hopefully we could really start around that 9 p.m. time once the technical difficulties are sorted out. Until then, people, hold it down, stay good, stay inside. I'm out. They're coming for who? For me. Bye. Hello. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. Nobody is coming for me. I rebuke such a thing. I am just reading news articles and discussing with the people on the internet. That's all I'm doing. Reading news and talking. Nobody needs to come for me. Whoever send you, tell them you ain't see me. I'm good. I'm chilling. Laters. Peace. Bye Instagram. I'm out. Bye Facebook. By YouTube.